Okay, 2.2.6. We want the square root of 8 minus 30i. And when we do this, there's a bunch of steps, and it's easy to get caught up in all this, but just take one step at a time and you'll be able to do it. So first thing to do is I drew a little diagram on how to solve for the angle. We know that angle is going to be negative, and it looks like it's negative 75.07 degrees. So when we look at it, it's this angle right here. Okay, so when we solve for that, we're using inverse tangent, the standard way we have been doing it. And then from there, we need to find this value right here. So we're looking here, this value here, but when we find it, remember, we're looking for the magnitude. Okay, so when we find that, we found the magnitude of 8 minus 30i, right? It's right here. But if we want to find the magnitude of the square root of 8 minus 30i, we got to take the square root of that. So the square root of a square root of x, that's x to the 1/2 to the 1/2, multiply these together, x to the 1/2 times 1/2 is x to the 1/4, and that's a 4th root of x. Okay, so we found that, and then on page 20, we got to fill out the rest of those values there. So we need to find the s value. That's going to be 360 over n, and remember n is 2 because we have a 2 right here. It's the square root. So we find that, we find out it's just 180, and then we need to find the x value. So the x value is just going to be cosine theta over n. It's inside the parentheses on page 20. So I'll write that in there. So equals cosine theta over n. And when we're talking about theta, we're talking about the angle of 8 minus 30i. Not the square root of 8 minus 30i, but literally the angle of inside the square root, 8 minus 30i, the angle of that. So the x value is going to be when the s value is taken to the 0 power. So that's what I have here. Remember, we need the magnitude out front, and then there we go. And remember that this right here, this 75.35 is just, 37.535 is just going to be 75.07 divided by 2. So go ahead and do that. We plug it into a calculator, and we end up with this value. We repeat that again, but this time we need to add 180 degrees to the negative 37.535. And we end up with these values, which should be a good sign because these values repeat a lot. And we end up with negative 4.4 plus 3.39i. And I went ahead and checked on Wolfram, typed it into Wolfram, and it agrees, so it looks like it's the right answer. Again, there's a lot of steps in here, so I recommend to do this one step at a time and just keep going, and you'll end up with the right answer. All right.